chapter to a story you'll see only on 2. A man convicted of intentionally infecting his ex-girlfriend with HIV learned his sentence earlier today.
What if someone you trusted with your heart was hiding a secret that could change your life forever? This is the story of Sarita Anderson, a woman who fell in love only to discover a devastating truth. Her boyfriend, Karim Zakikhani, wasn't just lying. He was hiding a dangerous secret that would affect her and many others. Stay with us to uncover how love, trust, and betrayal collided in a way no one could have imagined. Welcome to True Crime Anatomy, where we bring you real-life stories that have shaken lives and left lasting lessons. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps us share these untold stories every day. Today, we bring you the heartbreaking story of Sarita Anderson, a loving mother and a woman who believed she had found the perfect partner in Karim Zakikhani. They met while working at a hospital and quickly became inseparable. Karim wasn't just charming and attentive. He seemed to fit perfectly into Sarita's life, even bonding with her young son. But behind the man she trusted, there was a hidden truth that would change everything. This is not just a story of love gone wrong. Zakikhani knowingly carried HIV, a fact he concealed from Sarita and other women he pursued. Over the years, multiple women, including Sarita and Zakikhani's own wife, would come forward with devastating accounts of betrayal. The question remains, how did this man, who seemed so caring and trustworthy, deceive so many for so long? And what can we learn from the lives affected by his actions? Stay with us as we unravel this case, one that speaks to the power of trust, the pain of betrayal, and the search for justice. Karim Zakikhani was known for being outgoing and charismatic. He worked as a hospital security guard, where he was often described as friendly and easy to talk to. His charm was undeniable, and he seemed to connect with people effortlessly, striking up conversations on nearly any topic. To those who met him, he came across as confident and caring, a man who made others feel at ease. But for Karim, appearances were everything, and they helped him hide the secrets he carried. Sarita Anderson was a hardworking mother who balanced her job with raising her young son. She was kind, responsible, and deeply trusting, always believing the best in people. She met Karim while they both worked at the hospital, and their friendship developed naturally. Karim was attentive and warm, qualities Sarita valued. Over time, their friendship blossomed into a romantic relationship, and by the summer of 2013, they were inseparable. The relationship seemed perfect. Karim and Sarita spent nearly all their free time together. They went to concerts, comedy shows, and out to eat regularly. Karim didn't just connect with Sarita. He formed a bond with her son. The two would play video games together, laugh, and spend hours hanging out. Sarita was thrilled to see her son happy and accepted by the man she cared about. She began to feel that Karim could be a long-term part of her life, someone she could trust not just with her heart, but also with her family. But as their relationship deepened, Sarita wanted to make sure they were taking care of their health, especially since they were becoming intimate. She suggested they both get tested for sexually transmitted diseases. Sarita had already been tested during a recent medical exam and knew she was healthy, but she wanted to take the step together to build trust. Karim reassured her that he had been tested and was free of any illnesses. Sarita, trusting his word, didn't press him for proof. She believed him when he said there was nothing to worry about. This moment of trust marked a turning point in their relationship. Sarita felt secure, and Karim seemed even more invested in her and her son. They continued to grow closer, sharing dreams about the future and building a life together. But there were subtle signs that something wasn't quite right. Karim was secretive about certain aspects of his life. He avoided discussing his past in detail and sometimes gave vague answers to personal questions. Sarita brushed it off, thinking he was simply private or cautious about opening up too quickly. Karim's charm masked a calculated side. He knew how to say the right things to keep suspicion away. When Sarita mentioned her health concerns, he played the role of a supportive partner, reassuring her without revealing the truth. This pattern of deception would later reveal itself to be far more damaging than Sarita could have ever imagined. Their relationship appeared strong from the outside. Friends and colleagues saw them as a happy couple, and Sarita's son seemed to adore Karim. They were building a life together, full of laughter and love, or so it seemed. Beneath the surface, Karim was keeping a secret that would shatter the lives of those who trusted him the most. In April 2014, Sarita Anderson began to notice small but worrying changes in her body. At first, it seemed like a persistent flu. She felt tired all the time, her energy levels dropped, and she struggled to keep up with her daily routine. What she thought would pass in a week lingered for months, and as time went on, her condition worsened in ways she couldn't ignore. Her hair began falling out in clumps, her nails became brittle and started breaking, and she noticed her weight dropping rapidly. By the time she realized how serious it was, she had lost an alarming 65 pounds. Sarita's body seemed to be failing her. Every meal became a challenge. Swallowing was painful, and even digesting food left her in discomfort. Fungal infections began appearing in her mouth, making it harder to eat or even speak. Despite her attempts to push through, her symptoms worsened, and she started spending more time in hospitals than at home. She was admitted multiple times as doctors ran test after test, searching for the cause of her failing health. Sarita, overwhelmed by fear and exhaustion, relied on the man she loved, Karim Zakikhani, for support. Karim stayed close during her ordeal, appearing every bit the caring partner. He attended her doctor's appointments, held her hand in the hospital, and reassured her that they would figure it out together. "We'll find out what's wrong with you, babe," he told her more than once. "Everything is going to be okay." His words brought her comfort, and his presence gave her a sense of stability during such an uncertain time. To everyone around them, Karim seemed like the perfect boyfriend, standing by Sarita during her darkest moments. But beneath this facade of devotion, he was hiding a terrible truth. Months passed, and Sarita's condition continued to deteriorate. By September 2013, her doctors finally had answers, but they weren't the ones she was expecting. After running multiple tests, they sat her down and told her she was HIV positive. Sarita was stunned. Her mind raced as she tried to process the news. How could this have happened? She had always been careful about her health. She had no history of risky behavior, and her last medical exam just months earlier showed she was healthy. She asked her doctor to confirm the results, and he assured her that they had run 4 separate tests. All of them came back positive. Sarita was overwhelmed by the diagnosis. She replayed the details of her life, her choices, and her relationship with Karim, searching for answers. It was then that she remembered their conversation early in their relationship, when she had asked him to get tested for sexually transmitted diseases. She had been proactive and clear about her health. At the time, Karim had reassured her that he was healthy, and she believed him. She hadn't pressed for proof or doubted his word. She trusted him. But now, everything seemed to unravel. The betrayal began to sink in. Karim had lied to her. He had told her he was clean, knowing all along that he wasn't. The man she had welcomed into her life and her family had put her health at risk without a second thought. The weight of this realization hit her hard. Sarita's world crumbled as she faced not just her diagnosis, but the fact that someone she loved had intentionally kept such a critical truth from her. Still grappling with the diagnosis, Sarita confronted Karim. She needed to hear the truth from him directly. When she asked if he had known about his status, Karim denied it at first. He tried to deflect and reassure her, but Sarita pressed on. Finally, after repeated questioning, he admitted that he had been diagnosed with HIV years earlier. He had known about it since 2008, long before he met Sarita. And yet he had chosen to withhold this life-altering information from her. The truth left Sarita devastated. She had trusted Karim with her heart, her health, and her family. He had betrayed all of that. risking her life without a second thought. What hurt even more was the realization that Karim's lies had extended far beyond their relationship. Sarita began to recall moments that now seemed suspicious. His reluctance to discuss certain topics, his vague answers about his past, and his insistence on avoiding paperwork when they talked about STD testing. At the time, she had dismissed these as minor quirks. Now, they painted a picture of deliberate deception. Through her pain, Sarita tried to make sense of the man she thought she knew. Karim had been a constant presence in her life, someone who brought her joy and comfort. He had bonded with her son, played games with him, and seemed like the partner she had always hoped for. But beneath that charm was someone capable of hiding a secret that changed everything. The man who had held her hand through her illness was the same man who had caused it. The impact of Karim's betrayal was immense. Sarita's life had been turned upside down, and her future was now filled with uncertainty. Her health, her trust, and her sense of safety had all been stolen by the person she loved most. As she faced the reality of living with HIV, she also had to come to terms with the lies that had brought her to this point. For Sarita, the pain of the diagnosis was only matched by the heartbreak of knowing it could have been prevented if Karim had simply told her the truth. In 2016, 3 years after her diagnosis, Sarita Anderson took a courageous step. She walked into the Houston Police Department and reported Karim Zakikhani. She explained to detectives how he had lied to her about his health and knowingly infected her with HIV. Sarita's strength in coming forward set the wheels of an investigation into motion, one that would uncover the full extent of Karim's deception. Detectives began their work by reviewing Karim's medical history. They needed proof that he had known about his diagnosis before his relationship with Sarita. The investigation revealed that Karim tested positive for HIV in 2008, years before he met Sarita. Medical records confirmed that he was aware of his status, yet he had continued engaging in relationships without disclosing the truth. This documentation became the foundation of the case against him. Building a strong case, however, came with challenges. Detectives needed more than just medical records. They needed evidence of intent. Proving that Karim had knowingly infected Sarita and others required corroborating testimony from victims. Sarita's account was clear and consistent, but to strengthen their case, investigators needed to find other women who had been involved with Karim. This task wasn't easy. Many victims, fearing stigma or shame, were hesitant to come forward. It took time and careful outreach to gain their trust. Despite these challenges, more women eventually stepped forward. Each had a similar story of being charmed by Karim, trusting him, and later discovering they were HIV positive. These testimonies revealed a disturbing pattern. Karim had repeatedly lied about his health to the women he dated. He assured them he was healthy, even when they asked him directly about sexually transmitted diseases. Like Sarita, these women believed his words and did not suspect he was hiding such a devastating truth. One woman described how Karim had assured her he was tested regularly and had no health issues. Another recalled how he avoided answering questions about his past relationships. Each victim shared how Karim's charisma and competence made it easy to trust him. But behind the charm was a calculated effort to manipulate their trust. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. Detectives carefully pieced together these accounts, building a case that showed Karim's actions were not isolated incidents. His behavior followed a clear pattern of deceit, putting the lives of multiple women at risk. The weight of these testimonies added to the evidence already gathered, painting a damning picture of his actions. As the investigation unfolded, Karim maintained his innocence. He denied intentionally harming anyone, insisting that he had not known the full extent of his health. His resistance added another layer of difficulty to the case. Investigators had to prove that his actions were deliberate, not accidental. They worked closely with medical experts to explain the implications of Karim's diagnosis and his responsibility to disclose it to his partners. Law enforcement and medical professionals alike emphasized the gravity of Karim's actions. Experts explained how HIV, if left untreated, can lead to severe health complications and even death. They highlighted the ethical and legal obligation for anyone diagnosed with HIV to inform their partners. Karim's failure to do so was not just a breach of trust, it was a criminal act. Through the course of the investigation, detectives uncovered the full extent of Karim's deceit. At least 12 women came forward, each with a similar story. These were women from different walks of life, all united by the betrayal they experienced. Their testimonies brought the case into sharp focus, showing how Karim's lies had far-reaching consequences. The investigation also revealed the emotional toll on the victims. Many described feelings of anger, shame, and heartbreak. Some struggled to come to terms with their diagnoses, while others found strength in speaking out. Sarita, who had been the first to report Karim, became a source of inspiration for many of the women. Her courage paved the way for others to share their stories and seek justice. Despite Karim's denials, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The testimonies of the women, combined with his medical history, painted a clear picture than his actions. The investigation revealed not just a pattern of deceit, but also the devastating impact of his lies on the lives of his victims. It was a case that highlighted the importance of accountability, trust, and the courage to speak out in the face of betrayal. Karim Zakikhani's actions left many unanswered questions. Why would someone knowingly hide such a life-changing diagnosis? Was it denial, indifference, or something more intentional? These are questions that still linger for those whose lives were forever changed by his deception. Some have speculated that Karim's behavior was rooted in denial. Being diagnosed with HIV in 2008 could have been overwhelming, and it's possible that he chose to ignore the reality of his condition. Instead of seeking treatment and taking responsibility, he may have convinced himself that it wasn't something he needed to address or disclose. But even denial has limits. Karim was aware of his diagnosis, and his medical records clearly showed that he had opportunities to inform his partners, yet he didn't. Others believe Karim's actions were deliberate. His charm, his ability to gain trust, and his refusal to be upfront about his health point to manipulation. He knew how to appear as the perfect partner, kind, attentive, and supportive, while keeping his diagnosis hidden. When Sarita asked indirectly about his health, he didn't hesitate to lie. This wasn't a single mistake, but part of a larger pattern of deceit that spanned years and affected multiple women. Could someone repeatedly hide such critical information without understanding the harm they were causing? There's also the possibility of indifference. Perhaps Karim simply didn't care about the consequences of his actions. His refusal to share his diagnosis with his partners showed a blatant disregard for their well-being. He didn't take steps to protect them or give them the chance to make informed decisions about their health. Was it selfishness, a lack of empathy, or something else entirely? Karim's ability to manipulate those around him also raises questions about his motives. He used his charm and confidence to build trust, often reassuring his partners when doubts arose. He avoided difficult conversations and gave vague answers to personal questions. This pattern of behavior suggests he was aware of the risks and actively worked to conceal them. But why? Was it fear of rejection? A desire to maintain control? Or something more calculated? For many, the emotional impact of Karim's actions was as damaging as the physical consequences. He built relationships on lies, taking advantage of the trust his partners placed in him. His secrecy and manipulation left a trail of betrayal that spanned nearly a decade. Could this level of deception have been accidental, or does it point to a deeper issue? These questions don't have easy answers, but they are crucial for understanding the full scope of Karim's actions. What did you do if someone you trusted lied about something so critical? Would you confront them, or would the betrayal be too much to handle? And do you believe Karim's actions were deliberate, or was he simply in denial about his diagnosis? As the victims shared their stories, it became clear that Karim's actions were more than just personal betrayals. They were a breach of trust that affected lives in profound ways. Each victim was left to grapple with the aftermath, trying to make sense of how someone they cared for could have made such devastating choices. The truth behind Karim's motives may never be fully understood, but the impact of his actions is undeniable. In June 2016, following Sarita Anderson's report, Karim Zakikhani was arrested. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His medical records showed that he had known about his HIV-positive status since 2008, Yet he continued to engage in relationships without disclosing it. Faced with mounting testimonies from victims and undeniable proof of his deceit, Karim accepted a plea deal in 2018. By pleading guilty to aggravated assault, a first-degree felony, he avoided a trial, but received a 30-year prison sentence. For the victims, the sentencing was a moment of relief, but it came after years of emotional and physical pain. During the legal proceedings, Sarita shared her story, describing the profound betrayal she experienced. She spoke about the shock of her diagnosis, the health challenges she faced, and the heartbreak of knowing someone she loved had put her life in danger. Other women came forward to testify, recounting how Karim had lied to them, manipulated their trust, and left them to deal with the life-altering consequences of his actions. Each testimony revealed the devastating impact of Karim's choices. Some victims described the physical toll, severe weight loss, fatigue, and recurring health complications. Others focused on the emotional scars, explaining how they struggled with feelings of shame, anger, and hopelessness. Many spoke about the stigma of living with HIV and the isolation it brought into their lives. Despite these challenges, their courage in sharing their stories brought attention to the seriousness of Karim's crimes. For Sarita, the journey didn't end with the sentencing. After her diagnosis, she faced the immense task of rebuilding her life. At first, the weight of her reality felt unbearable. She admitted to moments of despair, even contemplating whether she could go on. But Sarita found strength in her son, the one bright spot in an otherwise dark period. Against the odds, her child, who she shares with Karim, tested negative for HIV. She described him as her saving grace, the reason she kept fighting. Sarita began focusing on her health and her future. She sought medical treatment to manage her condition and worked to regain control over her life. While the emotional scars remained, she refused to let her diagnosis define her. Over time, she found a renewed sense of purpose. Sharing her story became part of her healing process, and she hoped it would encourage others to protect themselves and hold people accountable for their actions. The sentencing brought some closure, but the victims' lives would never be the same. They had to come to terms with the betrayal, rebuild their confidence, and learn to live with the consequences of Karim's lies. For some, the court's decision provided justice, but it couldn't undo the damage. What they could do, however, was reclaim their narratives, turning their pain into strength and their voices into a warning for others. As Karim began serving his 30-year sentence, the stories of his victims served as a reminder of the importance of trust and accountability in relationships. Their courage in coming forward brought justice in ensuring that his actions would not go unanswered. For Sarita, her journey wasn't just about seeking justice. It was about finding herself again, moving forward, and creating a better future for her and her son. This case is a reminder of how fragile trust can be, and the devastating consequences when it's broken. Karim Zakikhani's actions didn't just impact the health of his victims, they shattered their sense of security and exposed the dangers of deception in relationships. Trust, once broken, leaves scars that take years to heal, if they ever truly do. Beyond trust, this story highlights the importance of personal responsibility. Karim had the knowledge and the power to protect others, yet he chose not to. His decisions show how a single lie can change lives forever. It also underscores the need for everyone to take their health seriously, ask the hard questions, and protect themselves, even in relationships that feel safe. For Sarita Anderson, this wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was a fight for survival and a journey to rebuild her life. Her words carry a powerful message. You don't know how strong you are until you have no choice but to be strong. Through unimaginable pain, she found strength to keep going for herself and her son. Her resilience serves as a source of hope for others facing similar struggles. This case forces us to ask some tough questions. What does it teach us about trust, love, and justice? How do we move forward when someone we care about betrays us so deeply? And what role do we all play in creating a culture of accountability and transparency in our relationships? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's reflect together on the lessons from this story. If this story moved you or made you think, share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done if you were in Sarita's place? Would you have confronted Zakikhani or gone straight to the police? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true crime stories that uncover the depths of betrayal and the search for justice. Your support helps us continue to tell these important stories. And what do you think? Was 30 years in prison enough for this crime? Let us know in the comments. Next time, we'll bring you another story of love, trust, and the shocking secrets that changed lives forever. You won't want to miss it.